You stand at a small crossroads of choices that millions of people navigate every day: what to eat, what to wear, and how to think about the animals and ecosystems affected by those decisions. The words vegan and vegetarian float around in headlines, restaurant menus, and conversations, often used as if they mean the same thing. They overlap, sure, but they also carry different histories, motivations, and practical realities. This is a calm, clear exploration of the differences and common ground between vegan and vegetarian lifestyles. No judgment, no shock images, just information you can use. Imagine walking into a grocery store and seeing two labels: vegan and vegetarian. Both are signals, shorthand for choices and values. Some people switch between them easily. Others feel a strong pull toward one path. The confusion often comes from the fact that both approaches reduce or eliminate animal flesh from the plate. But that's where the similarity ends. What follows is a grounded breakdown of what each term really means, why people choose them, and how those choices play out in everyday life. If you're a vegetarian, your core rule is simple: no meat, poultry, or fish. That's the backbone. But beyond that backbone, there are branches. Many vegetarians include animal byproducts like dairy, eggs, and sometimes honey. Those differences have names. Lacto-ovo vegetarians eat dairy and eggs. Lacto-vegetarians include dairy but not eggs. And ovo-vegetarians eat eggs but not dairy. Vegetarianism can be a nutritional choice, a cultural tradition, or an ethical stance focused specifically on sparing animals from slaughter. In practice, it often looks like family meals with cheese platters, omelets for breakfast, and vegetarian pastas at restaurants. It's a flexible approach that keeps familiar textures and flavors while eliminating direct animal flesh. Veganism widens the lens. Yes, many vegans avoid all animal-derived foods: no meat, no dairy, no eggs, no honey, but veganism often extends into lifestyle decisions. Leather, fur, wool, and silk are off the table. Products tested on animals or containing animal-derived ingredients are scrutinized. For someone who's vegan, choices are about minimizing participation in animal exploitation wherever possible. That ethical emphasis informs not only the grocery list, but also closets, cleaning supplies, and cosmetics. On a pragmatic level, vegan living can require more label reading and more thought about where items come from, but it offers a consistent framework. If it comes from an animal, don't use it. Both diets can be healthy, or both can be unhealthy, depending on food choices. Vegetarians often find it easier to meet protein needs because eggs and dairy are rich, convenient sources of high-quality protein and essential nutrients. A cheese sandwich, a yogurt parfait, or an egg scramble can provide familiar nutrition with little planning. Vegans, meanwhile, tend to eat more fiber-rich whole plant foods: beans, lentils, whole grains, vegetables. And many studies link plant-heavy diets with lower cholesterol and reduced risk of certain chronic diseases. But vegan diets require attention to nutrients that are less abundant in plant foods: vitamin B12, iron in its less absorbable form, omega-3 fatty acids, and sometimes vitamin D and calcium, depending on sun exposure and fortified foods. For both groups, supplementation and thoughtful meal planning can make a big nutritional difference. Neither label guarantees health. The real determinant is what's on your plate. Ethics is where many people's stories begin. For vegetarians, the ethical thread may be about reducing harm and avoiding the direct killing of animals. For vegans, the ethical frame tends to be broader, minimizing all forms of animal use and exploitation. These motivations overlap with environmental concerns, personal health, and cultural or spiritual values. You might stop eating meat because you don't want animals killed, or because industrial farming clashes with your idea of respect for nature, or because a spiritual tradition emphasizes compassion. Either choice can be rooted in a deep empathy for animals and a desire to reduce suffering. Importantly, motivations are personal. Someone might be vegetarian for taste and tradition, someone else vegan for a conviction about animal rights. Both decisions deserve respect. When you zoom out to ecosystems and carbon footprints, plant-based diets generally require fewer resources than diets heavy in animal products. Producing plant protein typically uses less land, water, and generates fewer greenhouse gas emissions than producing the same amount of animal protein. Vegan diets usually come out ahead on these broad measures, but the picture is nuanced. The environmental cost of a meal depends on specifics: how food was produced, whether it was shipped long distances, how processed it is. A locally sourced vegetarian meal made with seasonal produce and minimal processing can sometimes be more sustainable than a highly processed vegan packaged food shipped across the globe. The takeaway: both vegetarian and vegan choices generally help reduce environmental impact, but mindful sourcing and reducing ultra-processed foods amplify those benefits. Everyday life throws practical challenges at dietary choices. Vegetarians often find more straightforward options in restaurants and social settings. Cheese plates, egg-based dishes, and familiar comfort foods are common. That can translate into easier social acceptance and fewer awkward conversations. Vegans sometimes face limited menus and the need to explain dietary rules. Labels on products need a second glance, and traveling requires extra planning. But communities and market options are shifting. Grocery stores, cafes, and major restaurant chains increasingly offer vegan choices. Still, veganism asks for a bit more vigilance and boundary setting in social scenarios, while vegetarianism often feels more integrated into existing cultural food norms. There are persistent myths that cloud the conversation. Myth: vegans don't get enough protein. Truth: many plant foods, lentils, chickpeas, tofu, tempeh, seitan, and even grains and nuts are rich in protein. Myth: vegetarians still eat meat sometimes. Truth: true vegetarians avoid meat, poultry, and fish entirely. Variations do exist, but the core rule is consistent. Myth: one diet fits everyone. Truth: bodies, cultures, and access to foods differ. Some people thrive on a vegan diet. Others need the nutrients they get more easily from animal products, and cultural traditions shape how food is prepared and shared. None of these paths guarantees moral superiority or perfect health. They're tools you can use thoughtfully. If you're considering a change, start with small, sustainable steps. Try meatless Mondays, experiment with plant-based recipes, or swap dairy milk for a fortified plant milk a few days a week. If ethics drive you, you might explore documentaries or books that explain animal agriculture and alternatives. If health is your main interest, consult a registered dietitian who understands plant-based nutrition. Shopping mindfully helps. Focus on whole foods: beans, legumes, grains, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds, and learn simple recipes. If you're transitioning socially, communicate your choices kindly. Most hosts want to accommodate you. Most restaurants want your business. When you travel, pack snacks and download local vegan or vegetarian guides. Small habits over time build confidence and make the lifestyle feel natural rather than forced. Food is more than nutrients. It's rituals, holidays, and identity. In many cultures, vegetarian traditions are centuries old and woven into communal practices. Veganism, while growing rapidly today, often intersects with modern ethical movements and technological innovations like plant-based meat substitutes. Recognize that for many people, food choices are not just about individual health, but about family, community, and history. Respecting that context helps conversations stay constructive. You can learn a lot by asking, why did someone choose this diet? What does food mean in their family? Transitions often look like experiments and compromises. Some people move gradually, first reducing meat, then dropping it entirely, then phasing out dairy and eggs. Others flip the switch overnight. Many describe feeling lighter, noticing new flavors, or confronting old habits. Some face cravings, social friction, or confusion about nutrients. That's normal. Surrounding yourself with recipes, community groups, or a trusted clinician can ease the shift. Whether you move toward vegetarianism, veganism, or stay omnivore with more plant-forward meals, the important part is intention. Choices aligned with your values and needs. Vegan and vegetarian lifestyles are not competitors. They're options on a spectrum of how people relate to food, animals, and the planet. Vegetarianism often offers a gentler step away from meat while retaining dairy and eggs. Veganism extends that step into a broader lifestyle aimed at minimizing animal use. Both can support better health and a smaller environmental footprint when done thoughtfully. What matters most is clarity about your own reasons and practical attention to nutrition, sourcing, and social realities. There's no single right answer for everyone. There's only the choice that fits your life. If you take anything from this, let it be this: inform your choices, be kind in conversation, and choose the path that aligns with your values and circumstance. Whether you find comfort in a vegetarian cheese plate or conviction in a fully vegan lifestyle, both choices move toward a more thoughtful relationship with food. The crossroads isn't a moment of pressure, but an invitation to deliberate, experiment, and, if you wish, change. Pinned line for comments or cards. If you'd like simple meal ideas, nutrient checklists, or a short reading list to explore further, ask below and we'll share friendly, practical resources.